There's no day quite like it, is there? Today is new bike day. This is my brand new, to me, second-hand Canyon Ultimate CF SL7. I've rebuilt this from the ground up. I've picked every single component, but I've been on a budget. So I'm calling this my dream build on a budget. So let me talk you through the spec, what I've picked and why, and you can make your own comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. So this is a size large. It's a 2022 frame. When I bought it, it was red. I did want it to be a bit faster, so of course I had to have it painted in blue. The bike was in decent condition. There was obviously some usage marks on it, but I tend to, bikes I know I'm going to keep for a while, try and get them custom painted. It feels like they're more of a long-term thing for me, and it improves my morale. I love how they look, and it's just a bit of a thing. I love getting it done, and to me it makes a bike your own. I'm very lucky that my local friend John has painted this bike for me. He doesn't do it commercially, so we have to sort of twist his arm to do it, so thank you very much, John, for painting this. Done a brilliant job. The lettering is painted on, stenciled on, and so on. It is perfect. So let's start from that then. This is a custom colour. It is like a pearlescent colour. It is, I can't remember the name of it, I might put it in the description down below, but it's like a blue, purple, green, depending which way you look at it. Looks brilliant in the sun. I absolutely love it. It's not that metallic-y, but it is a real nice solid colour. And then the text is like a pearl white. It's not like a bright crisp white, it's a little bit darker than that, but again looks really nice. And on the fork, I did want another Canyon logo on the bike somewhere, but I didn't want another bright white logo. You see on the pro issue bikes, they have Canyon on the forks, Canyon on the down tube, Canyon on the handlebars, and then like Canyon there. It's just like, it's a bit much when they're not paying me, but I think what John's done there is absolutely brilliant. Sort of like a faint hologram, another Canyon on the forks. I really like how that looks. It's not too in your face. I absolutely love it. So what else have I put on this bike? Well, I was on a budget, so a lot of the things came with it. So the group set came with this when I bought the frame, the crank as well. The pedals I already had, the bars. I got these off my old bike actually. So let's start with the group set. So I've got a SRAM Rival ETAP 2x group set. This is perfect for me. It has a massive, massive range. It's a 48-35 chain set and a 10-36 rear cassette. That's the biggest range I've ever had on a bike. I've ridden this a couple of times now, and it is mint to have the low gears for grinding up the hills, to still have the top gear for going on the fast stuff. Yes, you lose a little bit in the close ratios, but for what I'm using this bike for, I need the extremes more than I need those like close shifts in between. So rides really well, feels really good. I have also paired that with my partner NRG chains, a wax chain which is rainbow, so of course it looks great. It's a YBN SLA chain, and then the 12-speed ceramic bearing jockey wheels. I mean, these are like, you know, marginal gains, but for me, more than anything, they look really cool, and I like how they look. I think when you like what your bike looks like, it's good for your morale. If you feel good, you perform well. Maybe I'm clutching at straws, but that's what I feel about that. And yeah, I hope you agree with me, it does look good. The cranks are 175mm, which is quite long in today's day and age, but I'm 6'2", so I do ride 175s on all my bikes, so this was perfect that I didn't have to change that. Maybe I'd get on better with shorter cranks, but I don't really have any problems with them how they are now. Moving on to the wheels, this is a new company I partnered with. This is Vetta. Vetta, you might have seen Jono on another video. I don't know exactly which order these are going out in, but this is a new brand based in Derbyshire, so really close to me. The wheels are obviously sourced overseas. Some are assembled in the UK, some are assembled overseas and then just quality controlled in the UK, depending which one they are. But this is actually a gravel wheel set, or a wheel set that is being aimed at the all-road market. And the reason for that is that they're super wide and quite robust. Now, for a rider like myself, I'm at 100 kilos at the minute. I need wheels that are going to be strong. Sure, I want them to be light. These are about 1,350 grams, which is stupid light for like a disc brake wheel set, but I do need them to be reliable above all. So that was the what we had in mind when Vetta built these wheels for me. Now they are 44mm deep. They're a real gloss carbon. I really wanted a gloss wheel set. On all my other bikes I have matte wheel sets, and I don't dislike them, but I just wanted a change. I think these look really good, especially with the really gloss and flippy paint. I think that the gloss wheels look really nice. The Vetta logo is like I don't know how you call it, it's like embossed on the wheels. It's not a sticker, so that looks really good as well, and you know it's not going to start peeling. And 44mm deep, and they are 24mm internal widths and 31mm external width. So a big old wheel, but I'm a big old rider. The roads I ride on aren't amazing, so I think these are absolutely perfect. I've paired these with some 32mm Continental GP 5000S tyres. I do have another set of wheels which I'll probably use in the winter, and these are more of a summer tyre. here, but I think he's a real good all-rounder, and because the wheels are so wide, the tyres are 32mm is big, right? They don't bulge out above the wheel, they're ever so slightly wider than the wheel. I think these match up really, really well. I love how they feel and ride. It's really nice riding on wider tyres, so I think that's really good. There's lots of clearance left. I could probably get 34s in there at a squeeze, but I don't really want to make it a squeeze. There's plenty of clearance for 32s. That is absolutely wide enough for me. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to riding some more miles on that new setup to me. Onto the finishing kit. So the seat post is one that came with the bike. I am going to swap this. This is a setback seat post. I do like having my saddle quite far forward, so I have had to slam it forward to get a similar position to my other bike. So when I've finished using my other bike for an event I've got in a week or two, I'm going to be having two bikes essentially. I will get the seat post out of that bike, which is an inline seat post, and it is also the VCLS split Canyon seat post, whereas this is just the solid one. I do like the split one. It does feel really like supple and absorbs road buzz, and I think why wouldn't I use that? But this is absolutely fine. It's not that much more rigid, it's just a little bit more rigid. But I think more than anything, it just looks a bit strange to have the setback seat post and have the saddle slam forward, so I'll fix that when I can use that in the next few weeks. Saddle is a Physique Aliante VS. This is actually, they stopped making these years ago, but I love it. I've ridden one of these for years and years on my road bike, and I came across one on eBay, brand new in the packet for 50 quid, so that was what I got for this. I know that I get on with it. In honesty, the first couple of rides hasn't been as comfy as my other saddle, but I figure that saddles take a bit of like bedding in, don't they? Onto the front end. Now, when this bike came, I did have the Canyon H36 integrated cockpit, which looks great. However, I cannot get clip-on bars on it. I can't use a normal, like, round Garmin mount on it, and they're just not as usable for what I use it for. I'll often ride in the dark, so I'll have to just bolt a light on in various different ways, and it's just easier for me to have round bars than it is an integrated bar. I do have the integrated bar still, and I think if I don't use these clip-on bars over winter, I will change these out, because you can run the hoses under the bars rather than just in them, so I don't have to bleed the brakes essentially. But for the time being, this is absolutely great. So I have had to use a slightly shorter stem than my other bike, because this is slightly longer than the Enduro-Ace, and I actually used a giant OD2 stem. Canyons have a 1 1/4 inch steerer tube, which is not common in the cycling world or road cycling world, so you have to have a bigger stem, but that's fine because Giant do that on some bikes as well. The bars are 40 centimeters wide. They're just like a normal shape. There's nothing fancy about them at all really. And then I have the shifters ever so slightly tilted in, hardly noticeable, but enough just to tilt my wrist in ever so slightly. The clip-on bars are just off my old bike, so I know them, I use them a lot. The bar tape, I was keen to get like a matte bar tape for the extensions. I don't mind like a glossy one on the base bar, like a leathery one, but then on the extensions I find I get a lot sweatier because there's not as much wind going through your hand, whereas on the bars there's a lot more wind. So I wanted something a bit more like that you can grip better when your hand is wet essentially. And I also did get the SRAM wireless blips for the 12-speed setup, which worked really well, and I paired those with some Project 76 button housing things. These work really well. They come in several different like shapes, and you can have thumb shifters or finger shifters. I just picked the finger shifter ones in the end and just straight, not on any sort of angle. I didn't really know what I prefer, but these work really well, and I actually use them with thumbs sometimes, with fingers sometimes, and I find that more than anything I've got quite long forearms, and having something else on the end of the extension just gives me something else to hold, so it actually works a lot better just having that. The brakes are also something that I changed. Now, when I got this bike, the previous owner did say, oh, the calipers do get a bit sticky every now and again, and I have certainly experienced that on my gravel bike that I've got SRAM calipers. So I thought, right, if I'm going to be stripping this bike down and building it from scratch, let me look at something aftermarket, potentially better, maybe not. And I opted for the Hope RX4 calipers. Now, I do like that Hope support a couple of bike racing teams. So I think where you can, you support brands that, you know, support the sport that you love. These are 4-pot calipers. They are, after having ridden them a couple of times now, massively overkill for what I need. The problem is that when I'm descending, sometimes I'm a little bit nervous descending. I'm not always out there to break speed records, and if you just do like a nervous tap on the brake, you lose a lot of speed, so you actually end up going a lot slower. Not a problem for training rides, but in a race I definitely need to get more used to that and either stop dabbing the brakes or just know that that slight dab of the brakes is going to scrub a lot of speed off. The clearance is good. They were difficult to set up. I had to actually get my friends at We Buy Cycle to set them up for me because I just couldn't get them bled up correctly. That might have been a user error, but they are known to be not as straightforward as normal calipers. But once they're set up like now, they're working fine, absolutely brilliant, and I really like them. And again, more than anything, I just think they look cool. Just have a nice bright sort of caliper set. I nearly got the black ones because I wondered if it was too much colour on the bike, but I ended up with the blue ones in the end. And also shout out to Westbrook Cycles. They didn't give them to me or anything, but I did buy the wrong ones, have to send them back to them. They're very friendly, sorted out very soon for me, so that was really, really helpful. In terms of total cost, I did sort of lose track of exactly what the total cost was. I kept a track of the big things like the frame and the paint and the bigger things that I bought for this bike, but the smaller things, I was just firing off that many orders, I did sort of lose track. Things like the bottle cages and pump and saddlebag and saddle and all these little bits and the clicks and computer mount and all of that, I just sort of stopped tracking it after a while. Back of the envelope maths, I think this bike owes me around £3,000. Now, of course, that excludes the wheels because I very kindly didn't have to pay anything for those. But I did have some wheels that came on my Grizzle, which I was going to use on this, that was like training wheels. So I would have had some wheels either way. And yeah, I think it owes me about £3,000 in total, which I'm pretty happy with. I would have liked it to have been about 2.5 in honesty. The new version of this, so the 2023 model, so 2024 model, is about £3,000. So I could have bought the brand new one for the money, but I wouldn't have had the great paint job, I wouldn't have had all the little tricky bits that I wanted on this, and I much prefer this sort of thing than having a brand new bike. What I also like on this is it's only semi-integrated, so the hydraulic hoses do go into the down tube and into the fork outside of the stem, whereas the new model, they're completely internally routed, which look great, but it's much harder to swap things around on it like I have done with this. In terms of how it rides, like a dream. I mean, some of it's probably psychological in that you're on a new bike, of course it's going to feel good, but genuinely I've really enjoyed riding it. I've only been out on it a handful of times, but in the next week or two I'm getting some more miles in it, and yeah, it's every bit of the bike that I wanted it to be. I wanted something that was in between the Air Road and the Enduro Race, which I've been riding for a few years now. This is definitely a lot closer position wise to my Air Road, but it's very, very compliant and it's exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to do a first ride video in the next few weeks when I've had a chance to ride it a few times, so first few rides impression sort of thing, but feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm going to get out for this on some miles. Oh, and I forgot to say, it does have a quark power meter. I don't think I'm going to use it because I have the Garmin Rally pedals, but maybe at some point.